How big of a statement win is this for both Kyle and RCR?
I mean, I think it's absolutely incredible to see. I mean, Kyle Busch and RCR have had a chance to legitimately win every single race that they've been a part of, not just the 500 and today's race at Auto Club, but also with the Clash and the first dual race that they were in. I mean, Kyle Busch, it's an incredible feat to think about. I mean, he wins his first race ever in the NASCAR Cup Series at Auto Club 2005 for Hendrick Motorsports. Goes in 2013, wins it for Joe Gibbs Racing. Then comes back with another team. His third team wins it in 2023. I had to make sure it was 2023, kind of losing track of time. 10 years later, with Richard Childress Racing and Chevrolet once again. And not only him, I mean, RCR too. Austin Dillon's been very consistent as well. Besides the wrecks, obviously, he's been up near the front. I think he can get a win this year. I think RCR has proven to be one of the best two-car teams in this entire sport. But, I mean, they're getting a little bit of runs from their Chevrolet counterparts in Trackhouse Racing, too. I know we'll be discussing that. But I think I can agree with that statement. RCR is definitely back. Kyle Busch is one of the most talented drivers now. I mean, he's won 50% of his races. That's a pretty high percentage. Granted, it's only 2, and we got 34 more to go. But it's a long story short. I think they're back, and I think this is a huge statement for both RCR and Kyle Busch, and even Austin Dillon, the whole team.
Yeah, Matthew, it's definitely an exciting time to be Richard Childress Racing. Right now, the entire shop at Welcome, North Carolina certainly has to be over the moon after that huge victory by Kyle Busch today. And I think we all expected to see Kyle Busch in victory lane this season at some point with RCR, but we probably didn't expect to see it this soon. And like you were saying, Matthew, the rest of the garage has to feel scared right now because Kyle Busch wasn't really pleased with how his tenure ended with Joe Gibbs Racing when he moved over to Richard Childress Racing. Everybody was saying, this was a downgrade, that Kyle Busch is not going to be as competitive as we've seen in recent years, and going to be a lot harder for him to win races. But guess what? Yeah, Kyle Busch got a podium in the Clash, had a really good run. A really good run going in the duel until Daniel Suarez ended up crashing him on the backstretch. He was in contention to win the Daytona 500, and now comes to Fontana and gets a victory in his second points race with Richard Childress Racing. I think if you're looking at early season championship favorites right now, given the momentum that Richard Childress Racing start off with, you certainly have to put Kyle Busch in that conversation, and this is a huge statement for Busch and the 8 team and RCR. I know we're going to talk about 2311 racing later in the program, but Tyler Reddick right now, how am I feeling? Because Tyler Reddick, he was the one who decided to leave RCR for 2311 racing. 2311 racing, their 2023 season has really started off on a really sour note, while everything is all sunshine and daisies for Reddick's old team. So it's obviously very early in the season, so there's plenty of time for Reddick to turn things around. But if I was Reddick right now, I'd be feeling very, very frustrated with the way things have started, especially watching my old team go out there and and performing extremely well right away and getting a win.
Yeah, it's a huge deal for Kyle Busch, obviously, and I'm going to catch up on some comments here in the chat room before I continue on here. I see Casey's watching. Hello, everyone. I have Grid Live wrap up plus the MRN broadcast going. Casey, I think that's the way to do it. Chrome Diesel saying Kyle Busch technically should have 2 wins this season. I wonder if Chrome Diesel's stalking my Twitter account, because I sent this tweet out shortly after the race ended. Congratulations to Kyle Busch on winning this week following his Daytona 500 win last week. Stenhouse fans, please don't take that too seriously, because we all know Stenhouse won the Daytona 530 by extension after overtime. But in all seriousness here, great victory for Kyle Busch and the whole RCR team. Matthew, like you mentioned as well, we'll get into this in a second. Chevrolet as a whole really stepping up their game. RCR's second car, Austin Dillon, finished in the top 10 as well today. So for Kyle Busch to come out of a gate this strong, I think is absolutely massive for the rest of the field. They should be very, very nervous looking at Kyle Busch. It just seems like a completely different driver from what we saw really the last several years, I would say, at Joe Gibbs Racing after his championship in 2019. Didn't really seem like himself during the pandemic-impacted seasons of 2020, 2021. Not having practice and qualifying, I think, really hurt him. And in 2022, of course, he had the contract situation weighing on him. And I think now that weight has been lifted off his shoulders, he's gotten a fresh start in a fresh environment with RCR. I think the rest of the field should be pretty nervous seeing how well Kyle is doing this early in the season. He's showing everybody that he hasn't forgotten how to win and how to be competitive in the Cup Series. And I think that's a huge wake-up call for the rest of the field as we move on throughout 2023.